Hey everybody, it's Casey with Pinecase. It's a Thursday evening, and you know what? Tuesdays had me kind of in a comfort there. I was getting a little bit lazy this summer, but I'm happy to see Thursdays back on the map again. So shout out to Calico for making that happen. Wes Paul, darling,
How you
how are
doing?
you? I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm surviving. I'm doing good though. Every day is a blessing. So
Isn't that the truth? My
yeah,
goodness.
no matter
So
how no matter how bad my hard days are these days, they're way easier than what they were before. So just happy to be where I'm at in life.
man, it's crazy. Like this week has been a little bit testing more than usual, and I was kind of sitting with some like maybe some anxiety that stems from poor choices not that long ago. I guess it's a
Hmm.
little bit longer now, but and I'll tell you, even in the thick of it and feeling uncomfortable and feeling scared or feeling anxious, it I would take days like that 100 times over than uh, I was a few years ago. Like I would rather a bad day like this than a good day like that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wild. Tell me, congratulations on next chapter. Like, what's going on with that? I'm so curious to know, like, what inspired.
Thank, thank you. Well, I've anybody who knows me knows that for a major part of my life, I battled through substance abuse, mental health, depression, anxiety, and I had the blessing of going to detox last September down in Victoria for a week, and then I headed out to Maple Ridge to Intervisions Treatment Center, and I spent 100 days out there, and finally took the self care time that I needed to get myself better, mind, body, and spirit. And I noticed a lot of things when I was in treatment, and I talked to a lot of people, and I realized that there was some things that we were all missing when we were gonna leave there. So I put a lot of thought in it, and I decided to register a business, and I am going to be helping people not only get into detox and give them the resources to help them to get into treatment, but I want to help with aftercare plans because a lot of us we don't have anywhere else to go but where we came from. So it's like you get incarcerated, you got a probation officer, parole officer, whatever you want to have it. You got to meet up with them. They want you to get to work. They're on your ass to get housing and everything else, but you leave treatment and they're like, okay, see you later. See you if you make it back here. Like,
Right.
there's nothing afterwards, right? I mean, you might be lucky enough to afford second stage housing, or you might be lucky enough to have the government help you out. But for most people, they just go back to the same places that they were at where they were struggling and they don't have all the tool sets yet, right? It's easy to get clean and sober when oh my kids are coming back. It's easier to get clean and sober when you're away from the environments that you were toxic, right? So the
Hmm.
real work starts when you leave and when you got to go back to the places that you did the things that you don't want to do anymore. And yeah, I've always been a person that wanted to help other people even when I didn't have anything to help myself. And I'm trying to build a legacy for my kids and my grandson, and I'm just really excited. And I'm from Vancouver Island, where it's been a pandemic for a very long time, and I just want to make a difference. I want to kind of raise the streets that I used to terrorize. So,
Oh, that it brings it brings tears to my eyes because I mean, even Calico and I were talking about this not that long ago. We're like, all right, where do we need to fill in some holes here? Like, what are when we're talking about outreach, like what does that look like? What does harm reduction look like?
yeah.
For Pinecase, and the thing that kept coming up was like transportation was such a massive one. Like
Mm,
when people are ready to go and there is no way to get there, right? And I mean, talking about detox beds and numbers and things are like, I mean, that's a different conversation. But
uh,
just getting there is
yes.
like, man, how do you when you don't got two dimes to rub together, like, you know what I mean? Or if you haven't been prioritizing your health up until this point, then what's going to make you have like that $40 to catch a cab? Like it's not realistic,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And so to expect people to like get it together enough to get themselves into like a crisis nurse or to get them into like the first thing in the morning at the detox center so that they can maybe make the list for the day. Like transportation was such a massive one, right? And then afterwards, like,
Yeah,
so
well, exactly.
what do you do? Like, I don't know BC's protocols right now. I've been out in Alberta for a little while, but they have this system set up where like you get a taxi voucher, but you go straight to one or two shelters.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
that's not a great place to go when you're trying to get clean and sober. It feels just the same as being out on the streets trying to find a warm place for the night. And there's
right.
people that are in all stages of where they're at. Like the harm reduction thing, it's important and it's vital, and people forget that everybody's journey is different.
Mhm.
Some people have to go on methadone and suboxone and different things like that. Some people need to wean off other ways, and too many people think they have to be perfect, and they
Right.
forget, like, in the big book it talks about, it's okay to use prescriptions as needed. It's not a relapse. If you're in pain and you're suffering
Mhm.
and the doctor tells you to take something and you're taking it the way you're supposed to be taking it, you're not
Yep.
doing anything wrong. The thing that'll take you out faster than anything is self medicating. You finally
Yeah.
get to a point where you've just had enough, right? And it's really important that people realize that these are suggestions and they're great suggestions, but don't beat yourself up and try to be perfect. Relapse is a lot of people's part of their recovery. Like, I relapsed so many times. The first time I ever went into a recovery meeting, I was 18 years old. It took me
Right.
till I was
Yeah.
30. It took me till I was 39 to finally fall down on my knees and surrender and say I've had enough.
Hmm. Oh
Like, it's
man.
it's a process. I had multiple years, multiple times, but the thing is I was a dry drunk or a dry addict. Like, I wasn't doing the drugs, but I was still in the same places. I was still doing the same things, hanging out with the same people, and eventually I fell down from it because I didn't have the tools that I needed to get to where I needed to go. Right. So
Yeah. It's crazy. I'm so sick and tired of people sitting there saying that like you got to be a certain way or like Suboxone isn't sobriety. Like, yeah, you know what? There might be people out there that take advantage of Suboxone or they take advantage of their
hundred
methadone or
percent,
whatever.
100%.
Fine, fair argument, whatever. But to sit
Yep.
there and say that like you're not sober because you're on something like that, like tell me again because there's people out here that got their babies back, that got their lives back, that got a job, that got a house. Like, what do you mean that's not sober? Like,
Exactly.
I don't what? And like, what
Yeah.
if that ain't it? Then what is sobriety then? Because I'm pretty sure it's like it's when what is it like? So think like to be an addict is to have things negatively affect you, right? Or affect the ones that you love. So as long as you're
Yeah.
doing better, you're in the right direction,
Well,
period. Like,
one of the things is admitting that you're powerless and your life is unmanageable. If your life
mhm.
becomes more manageable because of a prescription that's been given to you to get
Yeah, exactly. Like,
you
yeah, I'm
better,
here.
and you're
Hmm.
doing, is if I'm worried about what you're doing, I'm not worried about what I'm doing, and I'm gonna fall before you do.
Yeah,
So it's our job to, like, build each other up, right? So
yeah. No, I love that. I also love this new like it's not new, but uh I had my friend Quinn, he came on here and he was talking about like being Cali sober and he's like, you
yeah,
know,
that
that's
that's another thing too, right? Like, I don't judge anybody, but like,
mhm.
people people do that, and like I said, people do other things, and whatever you got to do to get to where you need to get to, that's your journey, and I just want to see you succeed. I want to see you shine. Just because I may have different views on different things doesn't mean my views are right. But I
Mhm.
find when I don't worry about what everybody else is doing and I work on myself, then I'm able to help those other people, and maybe I can guide them in a different direction by showing them that it is possible to do things a different way.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. Yeah, that's beautiful. And to give people like a sense of value on, on the other side when they come out there. I seen you putting posts up, seeing what people are doing and, trying to get a crew together to do a couple of things. Like, giving people a sense of belonging and a sense of self-worth when they're on the other side of,
Mm,
whatever it is, whether it's incarceration or detox
hmm.
or a rehab or whatever. Like, what a great thing, like right there, just
Yeah.
to keep people showing up is like,
Well, if you think about it, like if you look back in history and you look at our grandparents, our great grandparents, and great grandparents, our neighbors were neighbors. Now they want us to not even talk to the people that live across the hall from us.
right.
Like, we got to get back to community. We got to get back to helping each other out. The bartering system. You don't need to have money to be my friend. I can help you. You can help me. You don't owe me anything. I don't do things for you to owe me. I do it because I want to see you do well. And doing
Yeah.
good things come back your way, right?
Hmm.
So it's just one of those things. People gotta stop listening to what they're telling us what to do and start doing what we know what we're supposed to do and what was working for generations before us. And that's being the people together.
Yes, I'll cheers to that any day. I had a really beautiful conversation with a friend of mine. She works for the Chamber of Commerce, and she said to me, like, you don't have to have all the specialties.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what the chamber is for. Like, she goes, we got 17,000 people, and 10% of those are business owners, and it's their job to like have, you know, 1% of this and 1% of this knowledge. Like, it's not your job to have all that knowledge. You just come here, and as a community we come together, and then we make sure that everybody's got an accountant, and they got a plumber, and they
Exactly.
got somebody to do the landscaping. Like, that's what it's for. And I was like, dang, I never really thought about it like that. Like, I never really thought that, like, there's actually point
Hmm.
places in communities for that specific thing. Like, we don't need to be out here doing everything. That it's okay to be neighborly and to like rely on
Well,
each other for things like that.
absolutely. And your strength might be my weakness, and my weakness might like vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, I find that I learn more from others when I go out to help them than I probably teach them. People say thank you so much. I've learned this, I've learned that, but I learn more from others just being around them and seeing what they're going through, and getting myself outside of myself and learning how other people adapt to situations. Right?
Yeah, man, that makes you a good
So
human. To always be learning. There's
yeah,
such a beauty in that, and not being too like prideful or egotistical to not understand that we're students of this life. That's for sure.
absolutely. We got to keep learning always, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So explain to me like where all this translates into like the music world for you and what's going on with all of that. Because
Well,
you sent me
so
some
like
bangers.
music, thank you. Music has always been therapy for me, right? Like I was never one of those guys who was out there clout chasing for likes and everything like that. It helped me through the darkest times of my life. And through that, I was fortunate enough to have other people reach out to me and tell me how my words helped them, and it made me more inspired to be inspirational. And the thing is like my music, what I sent you, I think I sent you that Spotify playlist, and that's like 20 something songs of basically almost the whole catalog of my career. I picked like one or two of the tracks off of every album that I got a lot of appreciation for. So it's kind of like a greatest hits thing. And
Right.
the reason I called it the end game is, speaking of like music and everything else, I'm definitely realizing in my sobriety that my music is definitely transforming into a different direction. That being said, obviously, I'm still going to do hip hop. Hip hop is always going to be in my veins and in my blood. But I just, the more spiritual I've become and the more in tune with things I become, the more I realize that there's so much more than just rhyming words that I want to do. So I've been doing a lot of different types of genres, working on them right now. I've got some country rap I'm going to be dropping soon.
Yeah.
Got some rock and roll for the soul. I got some,
Right.
just like spiritual freestyle, hit record and let it out type vibes. And, I'm not just making music because I'm in pain anymore. I'm starting to make music that shows that there's a progression in my life and I'm happy now. Like, it's not all doom and gloom, and I don't have to talk about how horrible my life is and all the struggles that I'm going through. And I'm just really looking forward to being able to take the new stuff on the road And I get the opportunity, and I'm blessed with the opportunity that I can not only share my story of recovery, but I can also share my music love and my music talent. So I'm pretty blessed, and I'm really looking forward to what the future holds.
Oh man, it makes me so excited to see the West Coast come back with such force. I know that, um, you call it a pandemic, an epidemic, all of those things. Like, I
Yeah,
don't, you know, Campbell River used to be the heroin capital of Canada, and that was before all this nonsense that happened. This was before fentanyl. This was like, back in the
yeah,
day. And then everyone kind of chilled out and the blue collar took over and we had all that beautiful industry. And then as that started slipping, like, you could kind of see it rear its ugly head and take out a lot of our brothers and a lot of our sisters. And it was hard to watch. But to sit back and watch everybody come together from the music community and just like take
absolutely.
all of that love and that heartache and that experience and put it out there for the rest of us to watch. Like, my god, has it been such an experience. Like,
I love how sobriety is like the new trend.
yeah.
It's cool to be sober. Like, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. Tell me about Soberfest. You were out there hanging out with everybody.
Yeah, yeah. No, I had the opportunity to go up to Soberfest. I went down there with some of my recovery brothers and sisters and checked it out, and it was awesome because it was hosted in Langford, which is my hometown, my old stomping grounds, and it was just really nice to be at an event out there and be sober. I hadn't seen Prevail perform for a while. I've opened up
Mm,
for Mad Child and Prevail both separately a few times when I was in Calgary, so it was nice to see them out there and getting Big Merc out there. That was big
yeah.
for people. He's definitely got a big fan base for sure.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was really cool. And I talked with Daniel Wesley after for a little bit when he was waiting for his ride, and it was just good vibes. And I actually ran into a couple of my bros that I went to treatment with that were just randomly there that are back on the island, and it was really nice to see them because one of them I was able to keep in touch with, but the other one after he left the house, he lost his phone, so we didn't really have any contact, and then we ended up running into each other at Soberfest doing sober things. So it was nice to see each other on the outside still doing the recovery, right? So that's a beautiful thing about recovery is you can go to the island, the mainland, wherever. There's meetings everywhere. Like you can go to Mexico and go to a meeting. It's beautiful. Not only online do they have them everywhere, which means you can literally tune into a meeting anytime. You wake up and you're having a hard time, you can probably go online and there's a Zoom meeting somewhere in the world that's going to help you through that. And that's a beautiful thing about it. It's so universal now that we got to start using technology for the positive things that it can bring, right? So, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
Soberfest was really good, and yeah, I don't know who knows the promoters, anybody watching, but if they want a local spitter out there next year, I'll be more than available. So holler at your boy.
Yeah, let the people know, honestly. Like, I know
Yeah,
after
100%.
all that happened, I was like, we're going. Look,
Yeah,
like we're setting up, like we're going. Like, I don't care what is gonna happen, but next chapter in Pinecase, like you and I, we're
hell
going.
yeah, hell yeah. I'll be there either way, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
they need some hometown homies to bless that stage. I'm there. I got lots in the vault,
Yeah.
so I'll be ready to go.
That's wicked, man. There was so much happening
Yeah,
too at that time. Like,
it was. There was so much going on.
yeah, and the island was popping off for festivals. I couldn't keep track of them. I was like, we were giving away tickets
No,
and stuff, and I was just like, I don't know, man. Just whatever. Everybody, like, have a good time. Just let me know how it goes. Like, it's
yeah,
amazing.
for sure.
Hmm.
It's too bad that there's always like multiple things going on at the same time because it'd be nice to be able to support it all. But when
Right.
you got three or four promoters and they're all doing it on the same day, they're taking
Hmm.
away from each other and they're taking away from the culture and everything else. What they need
Hmm.
to do and what would be really dope is if we did like a big festival throughout the day where you had like battle of the bands type things and then you had some hip hop and just maybe some spoken word and just get like a big event set up where everyone can have the opportunity to showcase their talents. So I think
Yeah, that's not a
maybe
bad
we might have to
idea.
be the people to get that set up. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. I actually think
but
I've been thinking about that a lot.
we used to do it. Yeah, we used to do it back in the day at Lucky Bar. We used to do they called it blender nights. So rock bands would come out and hip hop acts would come out, and we ended up meeting up with the rock bands, and collaborations happened afterwards, and some real good music was made. And most of the hip hop cats at the time weren't going to go check out rock bands, but because we had that
Right.
opportunity, we got to meet some people and realize, there's a lot more music out there than just spitting bars. So
Yeah, we definitely need to have more of a conversation because, like, I know some big promoters out there and also some big venues too, and like everyone,
yeah,
um, there's programming and rentals, so it's hard to kind of like narrow it down. But yeah, I
absolutely,
think if we came up with like a block party style idea where like it was just
absolutely.
open house that like where everyone
And,
felt comfortable because it's hard to
hmm
like Campbell River. We were part of a block party in Campbell River and it was all hip hop, and then I was like Pinecase was also doing a block party out here, and it was country music. And
yeah.
I was like laughing so hard because I'm like, I like them both. I enjoy both types of music, right? But I'm like, this is hilarious. Like, I wish I could just pull these two events together, Like,
Well, there's no reason why we can't.
yeah,
There's no
exactly.
reason why we can't, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes the country folk like to stay up late. Sometimes they like to shut it down a little early. So, you get the dancing music later on in the evening, and you make a day of it,
Mhm.
right? So,
Yeah, absolutely. And the other part too is like bringing something into the winter, right? Everyone goes hard all summer, and then
hmm
we kind of were like, oh, what's happening all winter, right? Like everyone's jammed out and did the camping thing. But I think to bring something even indoors, like I was just part of Decimate Metal Fest, and we did it all indoor, or not all of it indoors. Camping was outside, but the show itself was inside, and like I was like, this isn't actually that big of a deal. Like if you could kind of find the right area to do it in,
yeah,
to push more festivals during the winter and make sure that people are feeling like they have a safe place to be. Because I'll tell you what, the overdose numbers and the suicide numbers and all of that stuff goes flying through the roof come that time. And I'm like, man,
it,
we really need to start doing some winter initiatives to make sure people,
it's
you
it's
know.
scary. It's scary. I actually, my stepsons, myself, and my future wifey, we last winter, and my homie from treatment, we went out and we handed out blankets and hand warmers and made hot chocolate and soup and stuff like that because it was colder than it's ever been here on the island. We were getting freezing temperatures, and actually the naloxone was freezing, and I didn't even know that it could freeze.
Yeah, Wes, you're breaking up a little bit, sweetheart. Yeah. It
So,
can
like,
freeze.
it's important that we have things readily available to keep it so it doesn't freeze because we need to save the people, right? So,
Yeah, and out in
I,
Alberta,
I had no
it's no
idea
different.
it
Like when you
froze and I was around where it was needed. It worked out every time. So, but
the other
my
thing
top,
too that
oh, it's been a,
oh,
yeah.
I was waiting for you to catch up there for a second.
Oh, oh,
Um,
oh, there we go.
the naloxone freezing is like a big thing. Like, and there you
I
are.
lost you. I lost my connection. There we go.
Welcome
Yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah. I'm here.
But yeah, you were saying that
Thank
you
you.
and like your partner and your friends and everybody were out your kids and everyone were out there handing out blankets and like dealing with like frozen naloxone kits, and I think that brings like a lot of good conversation because people carry it around with them but don't really know how to store it properly, right? Or like it sits in their car
Absolutely.
and they forget about like the temperature drops and stuff like that, and like there is different kits, right? There's the nasal ones and then there's the injection ones and there's the injection ones with the higher dose. So for everybody out there that has them, like carry them for sure, but just make sure you know the right language for the right kits and you're keeping them up to temperature and stuff like that, or else, you know, I would hate to be in a situation where you don't have
Ab-
enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you think you're all equipped and you, oh man, that's it's so heartbreaking. Right now, I'm actually in the middle of building kits for Overdose Awareness Day. We got like nice little pins to hand out and stuff like that, and I want to. I haven't quite figured out how to do it yet, but what I'm thinking is for each kit that we give out, I want to honor somebody that we've lost. And I started writing names down, and I got to like 20 just by myself. I got a
Yeah,
hundred kits to give out, and they're like, hygiene products and toiletries and stuff. And I was like, man, like it's one thing to build these kits, but it's another thing to like start associating like each bag with one of your friends. And I was like, damn, like this is like,
yeah, that hits me really close to home actually. Since leaving treatment, I lost five of my treatment brothers, and I also lost my brother-in-law February 26th, and he was 22 years old. And yeah, so if
my
there's anything I
condolences.
can, if there's anything I can do to help set that stuff up, definitely hit me up after this, and we'll
Mhm.
talk and we'll put some work in.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. It's wild. Like Edmonton has like a really big overdose awareness day campaign right now, and what they're doing is like that on a grander scale. So they have these like massive billboards with like loved ones on there, and I was like, I feel like we could probably do something similar where we're like, honoring like our people, or people can, let us know about their people. I made a reel a little while back actually, which I didn't really think too much of. I like had a couple of my friends in there, and the amount of people that reached out and were like, can you add my loved one to this? Can you add my loved one to this? So I mean, people definitely need a space where they can that's accessible, where they can honor, honor their,
Absolutely.
yeah. um yeah. Just anyone in, I'm like, shout out to everybody that's tuning in and in the comment section. I see you. I see so many people from the island in there, and it's so nice to like see everyone. I just seen a couple of names that I recognize. Like, thanks for tuning in, you guys. And like, I know a lot of you guys have been affected by all this epidemic stuff. You guys are out there and you want to join in and give us a hand. Come Overdose Awareness Day, which is August 31st. Like, please feel free to like reach out to either one of us. And we'll definitely throw something out there for your loved ones and make sure that everyone has like a voice in this space. I was thinking about like just leaving my live opening too, like, and just running stuff all day. So we'll see what's going on, but definitely check it out. And if you have someone out there that you would like to be, you know, for us to represent, or the other way around, then please don't be shy. Yeah. Um, man. So next chapter. So what's next for next chapter then?
Right now, I'm just kind of putting my team together, and we're
Hmm.
gonna be doing a bottle drive here soon. And I want to use that money to get some hoodies and different things made up for the colder weather because I want to go out again and do some service work. So
Hmm.
that's kind of what the next plan is, and I'm thinking of maybe throwing a hip hop event here in Duncan and maybe doing some shows throughout the island. I got a new album I'm working on right now, and I'm gonna take the proceeds to that and utilize it to just help out with street team things and see what you got going on where you're at and see where I can help out. But basically the first little while of the build is just going to be a lot of community support and a lot of service work. It's
Yeah.
very important in recovery, and like I said, I'll be taking my 1 year on September 19th, and
Yeah.
I really want to do a lot more service work in year two. The first year, a lot of it was really taking care of myself and getting right for my family and rebuilding relationships that I burnt down to the ground, and now I feel like I'm in a good place where I can really go out and start helping others, right? So um,
Congratulations on
thank you, thank
year.
you.
Like
Yeah, it's been a
September
hard one.
19th.
Like I said, like basically anything and everything that used to take me out has happened in the last 11 months, and I've found a way through prayer and meditation and working the program that I'm so blessed to be a part of, and having good people in my corner and in my life that I've been able to get through all of it without having to pick up, and it feels great. But it's been hard. It hasn't been easy, and that's the biggest thing that I want anybody listening. Like, don't expect things to get better overnight. You're going to have a lot of hard times to go through, but the feeling you get inside when you overcome all of that is completely unexplainable, and you'll start seeing the God shots of the world, and you'll really start seeing things turn around, and don't give up just because it's tough, right? Like it gets a lot easier, and no matter how difficult it is, it's a lot easier to get through it when you're clean and sober.
That's so, yeah. It's amazing too, like, I think you bring up
So
such
yeah,
like
don't
so
give
many
up.
good points. Like, yeah, and like if you know what I mean? If there's a bump, like don't I'm not I'm not gonna sit here and hate on people that count days because for a lot of people that's really important. But I think like, if your numbers aren't where you want them to be, or you start your numbers again, or whatever
Absolutely.
that looks like that's all good. It's all good. It does not take away from all the sweat equity that you put in leading up to that.
No,
Like, you know what I mean?
you don't lose the time that you have. You just reset the clock.
Yeah, that's right.
It's still there. It's still in the bank. You've done it. You've proven to yourself that you can do it. And if you're fortunate enough to get an opportunity to get back up and do it again, keep reminding yourself when the times get hard that you did put that work in and you did get the results, right? Don't think that you threw it all away. You didn't. You just had a little bit more research to go do,
Yes, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
It's a great way
pretty
to
s-
look at it.
pretty sure we've all failed a test or two at school or somewhere in our life where we had to do a redo. So
Oh
if you
man, I
get
barely
blessed,
made it.
I hear you. I hear you. Actually, it's crazy. I was blessed with the ability to do well in school, but I chose to not show up. And, I was one of those kids that did the bare minimum, showed up at tests, did exceptionally well on the tests, and pissed off my teachers because they had to push me through. But I don't recommend that, by the way. I don't recommend that at all. So, but no, definitely, like, don't think that you lost that time because you don't. And a lot of people feel that way when they come back, and they get discouraged, or they don't want to come back, or maybe you slipped and you slipped a couple of times and you don't want to say it, and then you don't have to be ashamed. The rooms are there to welcome you back. The newcomer is the most important person, because without the newcomer, people that have long-term time may forget about how hard it was, and every time somebody new comes in, they remind you that it's not getting any better out there.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a while since I've actually gone to like a proper meeting. I don't. Do you guys have Wellbriety out there? Um,
I have not heard of it. I can't really speak on whether we do or we don't. But
hmm.
I'm gonna check into that now.
Yeah, it's wicked, man. So it's set up like a traditional AA meeting, or like NA or CA or whatever,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And they have like a beautiful big book too. It's called The Red Road, and it's all of the teach. So it's like based out of like First Nations, and like uh it's more spiritual than religion
Okay. Yeah, I definitely would like to
based.
check that out.
I got really lucky, just blessed. I met shout out to Wellbrighty. I met this man. He was a Buddhist monk of 33 years. He's also a medicine man in his culture, and I don't know what had to happen in the universe for that to be the person that like brought me down, to the road of recovery. But um, yeah, it was just amazing because he was like, he has all these amazing teachings of Buddhism, and then he applies it to like knowledge that we could, I could kind of recognize a little bit, like, growing up not far from like the Quincy Reservation. I was like, okay, wait a second, this doesn't look that great. Okay, this is starting to look a little bit more familiar, and it didn't have that massive like fellowship aspect to it, which is great for everybody. I have a lot of respect for the church, and I have a lot of respect for the fellowship, and that's in that sense. But at the same time, I was kind of looking for like an alternative, and
Hmm.
man, it was amazing. So like you walk in and you're smudged, and then you all come in like the correct way and sit down, and then it's set up really similar. But yeah, I was wondering.
Nice. I
Hmm.
definitely would like to check something like that out for sure. I know for some people, going to larger meetings can be very overwhelming, and that's a reason why some people don't walk in. They have social anxiety or different things. It's really hard for them to be able to be around a bunch of people, which I think is a blessing that they do have Zoom meetings. that's probably the only thing that happened during COVID that was beneficial for me was the fact that you could tune into meetings. Because other than that, they shut down the music, they shut down everything else. But at least recovery didn't get shut out completely. So
Yeah. Pinecase does meetings too. We need to get back into that. It's been a little while since we've done any, but it's actually how I started the company was I kind of just took the same platform as AA and a little bit of the knowledge from Wellbriety and just applied it to basically like instead of having to tell your war story or your testimony, yeah, your testimonial, we just talked about like the music that you listen to and like why you relate
nice.
to it and like yeah, and it was just kind of a easier way to kind of hash out personal things without feeling so exposed.
Well, maybe we can sit down at another time and talk about the formula. And maybe I could set something out this way, and we could pick each other's brains. Because definitely one thing I noticed is there needs to be some more fellowship for everybody, right? I mean, as much as the rooms are there and welcoming for everybody, not everybody realizes that it's that way.
Yeah, and that's a lot of
And
the
not everybody's comfortable during certain things, right? Like I know for
yeah,
personally, when I was younger and I lost touch with my spirituality, talking about God made me want to say you don't have to think about God as the Bible. Like it's
yeah, exactly. And there
I
is a
think my
little bit of
connection lost again.
yeah, you actually like you got through that though, and you're right. Like there is like a lot of people associate like some of their traumas with some, with AA or NA. I had a really hard time.
Mm.
I I went because I made a promise to my mom. She said, like, you can't start this business without having some understanding of what people are talking about. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. She's like, you got to go to at least one of each of these meetings. And I was like, okay. And I did. And I'll tell you, I've never white knuckled anything like ever in my life than a AA meeting. And it's not that like alcohol is an issue or anything, or I felt like, well, alcohol's not an issue. So why am I at an AA meeting? It was none of that. It was that every traumatic thing that's ever happened to me happened after listening to the serenity prayer. It happened after hearing all the promises that were made and how important these 90 meetings in 90 days was, and then all of a sudden a tornado would rip through our house. That was my situation. And it was just like, how can you kind of expose yourself to a situation that all your trauma stems from. It's not necessarily like the drugs. I mean, the drugs were traumatic, but it was also like, going through the recovery with people. And so I was like, I don't know, man. And when I left, I was like, that was interesting, but I feel like we need an alternative. Like we need an alternative. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it stood the test of time, and the collection of people and the people that volunteer their time, it's amazing. But we need an alternative, just to scoop up the people that
For
are like,
sure.
maybe that's not for me.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I've been talking about that a lot with different people in the recovery programs that I'm part of. And
Mhm.
one thing, too, that I've been really noticing is there's not a lot for teenagers.
No.
So I really want to try and set something up for the youth because that's where I got lost, right? Like my teenage years were where everything fell apart. And it took me over 20 years to bounce back, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, we definitely need to do more for the youth. Like, the future is not just up to the next generation, it's up to the one that's still around to leave something left for them, right? Like that's another reason, like with music and stuff like that, I've noticed that it's changed a lot for me. Like I don't want to make music glorifying things that made my life hell. Like I I see even some of the music I listened to that I made when I was in those positions, I can't even really listen to it anymore because I feel like I did more damage than good, right? But it's just where I was at the time. So
Yeah.
the flip side to that is seeing the change. You know, it shows people that it is possible, right? So
Yeah, I think that's what's so beautiful about, your like your quote unquote greatest hits is like you can see, the journey, like walking through it. I think that's like such a beautiful thing about artists themselves, that you guys put yourself in this
mm,
vulnerable position and
hmm
expose that part of your personality for us, the consumer and the listener, to like, relate to, or just to like, feel like we're not alone, or to know that like there is,
yeah.
there's solutions, or there's like a good day, in amongst all the bad days. So yeah, good. Can you explain to me a little bit about anybody's listening?
Yeah. I was going through like a really hard time, and I was like trying to scream out for help, and I just felt like no matter how much wild actions I did, nobody was around. I felt like I was in a forest saying that a tree was falling. Like just, I didn't know how to reach people. I'm great at speaking with people. I'm great at helping others, but I just couldn't get people to seem to understand what I was going through. So that's kind of what that was
Man,
about.
like I remember being young, and I think I was like 12 or something, and like, my crew back then, they were all older than me. They're amazing, and they're still amazing. But I remember leaving the house, and my mom didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like 12:30 at night on a school night. She didn't say nothing, and I like got to the end of the complex, and then walked back and was like, "What the heck?" She didn't even. She like, did she not care? Like, what, is she on her own tip? Whatever. Anyways, when I started listening to that song, I was like, I it there was things in my adulthood that I could relate to about it, and there was things that like I could
Mm.
relate to about going through my like struggles or whatever. But there was like this specific moment in my like in my youth that I was like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that song definitely it definitely brings me back when I listen to it. Actually, a good friend of mine, shout out to my homie Ian. I know he's tuned in. He's the one who put that compilation together. So shout out to
really,
Ian for putting those together. Yeah, appreciate you,
yeah.
Ian. And
Uh,
I can't see anybody's comments or anything. So shout out to
mm,
everyone tuned in. And I want to say a quick shout out to my rhyming partner on the island. We haven't done any work for a little while, but shout out to Ryan Parker, aka Novel, for those who don't know him. We actually made an album with a group called Twins, TWINZ. Album's called Sleeping Giants. It's on all platforms. So if y'all want to check out Ryan Parker and Wes Paul, it's Twins with a Z, and the album is Sleeping Giants. Go check that out.
yeah, we'll throw the link in the description. Absolute, or not in the in the comment section. I'm putting everything in the comment section so people can just like
Oh,
click
I
and
just
go.
seen how do you heal
Mm,
by not numbing yourself. You have to feel to heal.
yeah, yeah, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. I seen this meme today, and um, it was like, I don't drink or do drugs. I like to go through my trauma raw or something.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's actually.
that's an interesting one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wild. All right, darling. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up, and
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We'll have to do this again another time. And like I said, hit me up anytime you got things going on, and if you need an extra voice and some extra hands, hit me up.
yeah, sounds good. I got a whole list of jobs that we are about to collab on, and
Perfect. Got a lot of
indeed.
time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like we need to come together as a community on some of this stuff and make sure the island knows what's good, and that everybody
Yeah.
feels love. The West Coast scene gets the respect that it so has, taken all the time to build itself. And like, yeah, we need to do our time to highlight the music and make sure that people are talking about music and mental health. And yeah,
Most
I need
definitely.
all the brothers I can get. So All right. Well, Wes,
Thank you
thank you
very
so much.
much for the opportunity, and I look forward to working in the future. And big ups to everybody.
Yeah.
Thank
Shout out to
you.
Next Chapter, Wes Paul. Thank you guys. You guys, everybody out there, stay safe. Take the time to call one another, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.